Alright, let's get on to our next subject here, or next section of this document you've downloaded, I hope. And that's the contribution limits. Now, almost every alleged amendment or suggestion for an amendment recommends public financing. Or they recommend a $100 limit. Let's be honest, you can't pick a car up with $100. Okay, how much is it going to take just to get one commercial on the air? Or 100 signs printed, or shake 100 hands? Let's think about it. Setting a cash value limit is moronic. What's even worse is the public financing option, where we get to bureaucratize the corruption. Instead of big corporations making the choice as to who to vote for, who gets the money and all that nice neat stuff, it'll be the party in power, or it will be the group that controls the party in power, or it will be a local organization that has their fingers in every part of it. So we need to do something about that. And we need to come up with a fair system, one that doesn't screw anybody out of anything. It still gives them the voice equal to everyone else's voice. Because the truth is, my voice should not matter any more than your voice does, or your neighbor's voice does, or your child's voice does. Contribution limits. The contribution to any individual, local, state, or federal candidate may not exceed 5% per year of the national median income of the previous election cycle. Right now, that would be about $2,500 per candidate. Since the national median income is around $47,000, 5% of that would be around $2,250, $2,300. That's more than enough for each person. Contributors shall be permitted to contribute to as many different candidates as they deem necessary, provided those candidates are the contributor's direct representative in local, state, or federally elected offices. Now what that means is you can't contribute any money to any candidate that isn't going to be a direct representative of you. You can't give money to the guy running for the congressional district next door. You can't give money to the mayor of the next city. You can't pass funds around like you can't influence, basically, somebody else's election. You're not allowed to steal somebody's voice, no more than anybody's allowed to steal your voice. Alright? The contribution to any single legal entity involved in support or opposition of any local, state, or federal legislation. Now, we've made sure that there are no legal entities that can support or oppose any candidate. What we need to do, though, is to make sure those legal entities can't affect legislation that doesn't affect them directly. And that's basically what this part is going to finish saying. May not exceed 5% per year of the national median income of the previous legislative cycle. Contributors may contribute to as many different legal entities as they deem necessary, provided the legal entity's scope of support or opposition to pending legislation directly affects the contributor. What that means, once again, the Sierra Club cannot come in here or come into your town and spend money on a local issue. One, because they're not a registered voter. But number two, they got no business being there unless you started a club there and you raise the money there you're going to spend. That comes a little bit further down the line with the scope of contributions, the next section. But basically it says you can't contribute to somebody in another state or another city or another county or another congressional district just to have a law imposed on them that wouldn't be imposed on you. In other words, the legislation doesn't affect you personally. You can't contribute to that entity. Simple enough. Non-interference is what it's called, folks. And that's the second thing we need to clear above buying of influence. Now, since Congress isn't really good at making up enforcement, and let's be honest, the DOJ isn't real good at following up on that unless it meets a political goal, have added an enforcement section in here that says any candidate or political party that violates the contribution limits intentionally, the candidate or legal entity shall be subject to a fine equal to 50% of all contributions received for the 12 months prior to the date of the violation. And that money is to be paid to the local, state, or federal Department of Education for which the violation occurred. The fine shall be due within 30 days after the issuance of the fine, and no expenditures may be made with the exception of staff payroll until the fine is satisfied. Meaning if you screw up, you pay for it then and there. Not at the end of the year, not 2 years later, you pay for it now. And if your campaign suffers for it, you won't do that again the next time. You'll keep your nose clean. There's a severe punishment for losing half your cash. It also says that the local, state, and federal prosecutor in which the violation occurs will be responsible for the investigation and prosecution of such violations. It will be up to you as citizens to make that happen. Now, this is a pretty long document, 4 pages. It's damn near as long as the Constitution is itself. About 1,400 words completed. But I think we need to be a lot more specific about things rather than letting the courts or Congress interpret what is meant. If it's laid out plain and clear, they really can't fight their way around it, and the loopholes are closed. I'm pretty sure I got all of them, but I'm sure we'll find 1 or 2 later on.